Thanks for joining me again on Best of Trek, Worst of Trek. I'm your host, Dustin Wing. Hunting for sport at number 664 is Slug Hunters, or Rogue Planet. We open into Trip trying to take the perfect picture of Archer on the bridge for a painting in Starfleet headquarters when sensors detect a rogue planet. When they land to explore, they're met by a group of game hunters. Archer starts seeing a woman in the woods, and in the end they find out it's actually some type of slug creature that changes shape and shows you what you want to see, and the hunters are actually here hunting them. Burying its head in the clouds is number 663, Sky Mermaids, or the Cloud Minders. The Enterprise is ordered to obtain the mineral Xenite from Cloud City of Stratus, but despite being told not to, they beam to the surface of the planet and get caught up in a struggle of class warfare between the Stratus dwellers and the troglodytes that live in the mines on the planet, that contain an unknown gas that keeps them stupid. In the end, Kirk forces the two leaders of the planet's groups to dig raw Xenite in a cave where he's purposely trapped them that's running out of air to prove that the Xenite is dangerous and causes unnatural anger. This one's got hokey fight scenes, weird dominatrix stuff, and one of the most interesting female clothing choices in all of Trek. Transporting to number 662 is Transporter Ghost, or Daedalus. Trip fangirls pretty hard over the inventor of the transporter coming aboard, who's also a family friend of Archer's. He's testing the theory of a long-range transporter in a region of space known for being uninhabited for light years. The crew starts seeing a kind of ghost that emits delta radiation, turning exposed crew members into post-accident Captain Pike. Turns out the ghost is the son of the transporter creator, who had been part of an earlier test, and his pattern was lost in this area of space. What's really going on is his father came aboard under false pretenses trying to retrieve his pattern. They attempt it, but only end up getting back his corpse. As if Archer isn't always the most angry captain in all of Trek, he's more angry than usual in this one and won't listen to any of his senior officers even when they flat out tell him he's endangering the ship to maybe save one life, especially when they've already lost one crew member. There's weird camera zooms in this one that don't jive with normal Trek film style.
I can't let him go, I can't!
And the ending is anticlimactic hell. Being sold off is number 661. Deanna's Arranged Marriage, or Haven. In another Season 1 TNG using the same name of the planet being visited as the title, we open into a creepy box being beamed onto the ship with an uncredited Armin Shimmerman's face on it, who announces Deanna's arranged marriage and pops out random jewels and treasure. Even though they haven't been a thing for years, Riker is in the transporter room when this happens and seems dismayed. I mean, it seems weird Deanna never said to him, "Oh hey, by the way, we can have a fling for now, but I'm in an arranged marriage eventually." Shortly after, Lwaxana Troi beams on board for her first appearance in Trek. In the other simultaneous plot going on, a ship from a plague-ridden world thought to have no survivors enters the sector. And the planet Haven is concerned the Terralians will land and contaminate their planet with the incurable plague. Most of the rest of the episode is a pissing contest between Lwaxana and Deanna's future in-laws, the Millers. In a plot twist that has little explanation, the groom Wyatt is actually a Talarian and beams himself on board their ship, committing himself to forever quarantine and exile. The ending plot is reminiscent of Harry Kim being convinced he's actually a Teresian, and Wyatt's mannerisms seem to be reused in Ezri Dax's brother Norvo. Bev and Tasha's hair at the pre-wedding feast may be the worst hair in all of Trek. Meanwhile, in the same scene, Data seems to be studying the guests like animals at the zoo. The music in this one kills me. It's like if Star Wars were a soap opera, this episode's score would be its backing track. To the point that the composer, Dennis McCarthy, thought he'd get fired, and that would be a safe assumption in my book. Caught between a rock and a hard place is number 660, Almost Riker, or The Outrageous Okana. The Enterprise receives a distress call from a cargo ship in need of repairs. They meet a roguish captain who comes on board and, fraternizes with the female crew members. Ships from 2 neighboring planets show up and both demand that Picard turn Okona over for different nefarious reasons. One thinks Okona impregnated his daughter, and the other one thinks he stole a treasured jewel. It turns out in the end, the son of one knocked up the daughter of the other and was sending the freighter captain with the jewel as a gift for his baby mama, but doesn't come clean to his dad till we've already wasted most of the episode. Meanwhile, the B-plot in the Data Striving to Be Human series saves this one from a lower ranking on the list. After failing to impress Guinan with humor, he goes to the holodeck and tries to learn from a 20th century comic what it means to be funny. Throughout the episode, every time he tries to be funny, it falls flat, but keeps being funny when he's not trying to. The actor that played Okona in this one was Gene Roddenberry's choice for Will Riker, but was overruled by the studio, and the rest is history. Waiting for test results is number 659, Space STD, or the disease. Voyager is docked with a gigantic generational city ship filled with a mostly xenophobic race. They need Voyager's help to maintain its systems, but don't actually want to give them access to give them help. Harry Kim is having unauthorized intimate relations with one of the engineers on the city ship, and when summoned, he's so disorganized he tries to put on her tiny uniform. Later, he starts glowing and then has to admit to the doctor that he did a thing he shouldn't have done, and now he's got an STD. The doc cures him, and Janeway lays out how she's got a double standard for Harry that she doesn't necessarily hold the rest of the crew to, and orders him to stay away from her. But he just goes on doing his own thing anyway. Seven lays out the meaning of love in a much more logical way than the Vulcans certainly ever could. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Amok Time. It later turns out that some of the problems the city ship is having is because of synthetic parasites breaking down the ship's hull that were created by Kim's girlfriend so that they don't have to be so xenophobic and some of the people can have a chance to leave. In the end, Seven reverses course for no apparent reason and is like, love is not a disease, and oh, by the way, Harry, get well soon. This entire episode is just a PSA for safe sex. Being mesmerized is number 658, The Cloud of Dreams, or Metamorphosis. A shuttle carrying the Big Three and a Federation commissioner are messed with by a cloud of sentient hydrogen that forces them down onto a planetoid, where they find Zephram Cochrane, the inventor of the warp drive. Apparently the cloud that forced them here is an entity called the Companion that kept Cochrane alive all this time and didn't want him to be lonely anymore, so brought this group of humans to live with him. The commissioner in the party was seriously ill when they landed and dies soon after. The Companion inhabits her body and continues on with Cochrane. There's a lot wrong with this one. Due to some of the footage being ruined, some of the scenes had to be reshot, with sets hastily thrown back up and the actress playing the commissioner having lost 10 pounds because of pneumonia. Cochrane brings up an obscure reference to a Judas goat, which is apparently a goat that leads sheep and cattle to slaughter. There's a part where when they communicate with the Companion, the universal translator makes the voice female, and Kirk says something about the concepts of male and female being universal constructs, and that really hasn't aged well. What does the UT do for androgynous species, I wonder? Number 657 shows us the ultimate evolution of WWE wrestling. Delta Quadrant and Bojitsu. Or Sunkatsi. Not sure how an episode with amazing recurring Trek actors Jeffrey Combs and J.G. Hertzler could be this far down the list, but Voyager managed to do it. Trying to play off the golden era of professional wrestling that was the 1990s, the producers elicited The Rock to spend all of a minute on screen and write a whole episode around his extremely limited appearance. Apparently it paid off, since this got the highest Nielsen ratings of the season. While on shore leave, the crew get really into a fighting style called Sunkatsi. The Doctor keeps trying to get members of the crew to go do really boring things with him rather than go watch barbaric sports, and the running joke about no one wanting to hang out with the Doctor may actually be the best part of the episode. 7 of 9 and Tuvok are kidnapped and forced to fight in Sunkatsi. When the crew see Seven fighting, they discover that the fight is actually a holo projection from a big ship that's said to be out of their weight class to attack. But when they add the Delta Flyer, somehow it's a fair fight and they get Seven and Tuvok back. Speaking of Tuvok, this seemed to be another one where they didn't know what to do with him, so they made him incapacitated through most of the episode. In an interesting moment, B'Elanna is left in command of the bridge for the only time while in space in series history. Rounding out the bottom 100 of this list is number 656, War Games, or A Taste of Armageddon. I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of Cold War analogies and media about nuclear deterrent, but I just can't with this one. The Enterprise has an ambassador on board and is under orders to open relations with an unnamed numbered-only star system. They receive a code 710, which is apparently galactic code for do not approach the planet under any circumstances. The ambassador on board has power in this matter to override Kirk and orders them to go anyway for no apparent reason at all. When they beam down, they find out that this planet is at war with its neighboring planet, but what they do is just simulate hits, and then the people in the affected zones go to extermination chambers. Holy Auschwitz, this one has not aged well into the 21st century of media. The people of the planet take Kirk and party prisoner because they're all part of the current round of casualties. They also try to fool the crew of the Enterprise into beaming down because they're considered casualties, and the dumb ambassador falls for it and demands to be beamed down to try negotiations, but is immediately taken prisoner and sent to the gas chamber. Spock mind melds through a wall and nonchalantly walks up to a group of people to snag a weapon while the rest of the landing party just watches. They save the ambassador, blow up an extermination chamber, and then destroy the computers used to simulate war. This society has no idea how to run security operations, and I even hate their hats.
Ah, computer.
That program is available.
Thanks, Majel. Majel. Thanks, Majel. Majel.
Where is everyone?
Thanks, Majel.
Now, a man your age must work to keep himself in shape.
Majel.
Between him and that woman's inane chatter, it's a wonder I made it here at all.
Thanks, Majel.
All parties do not request it. It's simply out of the question.
Thanks, Majel.
I've forgotten whether you enjoy pets or not.
Thanks, Majel.
Now, the answer to the puzzle of Ariana and you is so simple.
Thanks, Majel.
Perhaps I should stay and be joined to a new mate.
Source material on that subject is extensive. Please specify.
Thanks, Majel.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Channel open.
Thanks, Majel.
Satire in Trek. Satire in Trek.
I am Luoxana Troy, daughter of the fifth house, holder of the sacred chalice of Reeks, heir to the holy rings of Beta Zed. Who are you?
You stand in the presence of Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, rightful heir to the Iron Throne, rightful queen of the Andals and the First Men, protector of the Seven Kingdoms, the mother of dragons, the Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, the Unburnt, the breaker of chains.
You and First Officer Spock, be our guests on Stratus.
Be our guest. Be our guest.
Your sister.
Thank you for the drinks.
You know, there's a million fine-looking women in the world, dude, but they don't all bring you lasagna at work. Most of them just cheat on you.
Dad? What's wrong?
Bub was gonna be a shrimp and boat captain, but instead he died right there by that river in Vietnam.